something that like literally a day when we went to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, one of the best days of my life, has definitely gone on to influence my subsequent relationships with people, and has even gone on to influence this podcast that we're doing right now, because at the end of each podcast I do big talk, but this is the story of big talk. Yash, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so first when I was when we were in Singapore, I got this email from what was her name, like Kalina someone, basically that's the one, Kalina Silverman, and she had this YouTube video about big talk, which is basically just the idea of cutting through all the small talks. You meet loads of different people and it's like, oh hey, where you from, how you doing, and after like the sixth person, especially, you know, in a place like Singapore, or like when we went on exchange, you meet so many new people, or when going to uni for the first time, it's almost like after the 10th person, you don't care, they don't care, you're just almost exchanging pleasantries. And her whole idea was to just forget all that and just really ask important, big questions to get to know the other person. And so in KL, we were like, oh, we should do something, like we should do something different. Why don't we go around interviewing people, asking them big talk questions? So the night started where we had Dining in the Dark, which in itself was just an amazing experience, right?
Yeah,
so,
I think let's talk about that later, because I think there's a lot more to talk about in that one. So we did that Dining in the Dark, and then we hit that street, right?
Yeah, and then the very first thing was when we were at our hotel, and then it was like we had one room and this couple had another room in this Airbnb, and then was it by the swimming pool where we were like, oh, can we interview you later? And they were like, do you do this much? And we're like, yeah, all the time. Like this is just what we do. And then we never actually got around to it, but that was how it started, where we were like, yeah, we do this all the time, no worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after Dining in the Dark, we're in this bar, we're on this table just having a few drinks, and there's this couple next to us. They're like European, and we're like, okay, like, this is our, yeah, like so at the time we were like, oh, okay, they're European. This is our chance. So I go up, so I bought a GoPro with this little stand, and then we go up to them and we're like, oh hey, can we just like interview you? You know, we do this all the time. And then they're just like, oh, a bit apprehensive, and they're like, yeah, okay, like it'll be something different, something fun. And then we sit and we chat to them, and it's just using all these big talk questions, right, which actually really prompts everyone to think, because it's not things you even really consider just generally. And it was just so amazing. We talked to them, and then moved on to another bar and talked to this Italian bar owner, and then moved on and talked to the three women, three teachers, two from Australia, one from Ireland, and then the GoPro ran out of battery, and then they took us on a night out to this club and bought us drinks, and it was just unbelievable. And even just all of their individual stories was just so interesting, wasn't it? So for the French couple, like, wasn't
we asked them what's one thing you wanted to do before you die, and they wanted to open a restaurant together.
Yeah, back in France. Like, she was in finance and he was like in pharma or something. Yeah. But their dream was actually to open like a restaurant back in France. And then the Italian bar owner, he owned the bar that we were in, and he was like, yeah, I just have these two daughters, and I just want this bar to work so I can fly them out from Italy to come like stay with me. And it was just like all these people have all these stories.
And he also like really got into it. Like, he went deep. Like, I could really feel it when he was saying, you know, I'm doing everything for my family, and like all I want is for my daughters to be well. Like, and you know, they really got into it.
Yeah, it was amazing. So you almost get kind of locked into a trance with the big talk questions, especially like we kind of forgot the camera was there, where we were very much just chatting to this guy, and he was very much just unloading his life story onto us, and it was amazing. It was so like heartwarming to hear, and like it was something that obviously if we'd never approached him, never tried to engage this conversation or create these moments, you know, he would have gone his way, we would have gone our way. No one would be, you know, on the wise, that kind of thing. But just how the night ended up there.
Yeah, but I just think on that, like, just having the camera meant that it was such an easy in.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like if we didn't have the camera, it would have made that like approach just a bit stranger, like not really more of a social norm. Whereas because we were posing as travel bloggers, asking these big questions, that was like what we did, and it was normal, right? It was such an easy in with people.
Definitely. The importance of props. So the camera did make a massive difference. But yeah, even when it ran out, obviously with the 3 women, 3 teachers, then we were just comfortable, and then they were just like, yeah, let's like go on a night out, and they took us on the rickshaw, and they called it.
Yeah,
it was just so bizarre. And then right at the end of the night, it was like 3:34 a.m. Somehow they were still out with us. One of them was complaining that she had to take her kids to judo in the morning, which I was just like, what are you doing here? You should go home. But the most shocking part was that massive brawl we saw on the street.
Oh yeah,
where there was this one guy and this massive mob just basically the shit out of this one guy. No idea what it was about. Like, well, we just came out of the club and this thing was happening, and we were just standing there like, wow, this is crazy. And they just went on our way. Like, we weren't going to interfere. It was like a massive mob. It was so.
But you even like remember that, like that, with those 3 Australian teachers, like that almost brought us another opportunity, because that mum who had to take her kid to judo was like, next week, I'm hosting these like bar awards. Do you guys want to come?
Oh yeah. Oh, we should have gone. We should have gone. But that was the start of it, and we were like, we should do this every trip we go on. But alas, the old GoPro fell in Halong Bay River in Vietnam.
Oh, so mate. Yeah,
within my dreams.
Yeah, so I remember. So Vietnam was the first place we went to on our start of our big kind of travels over December. It was kind of maybe the second day when we were going to Halong Bay.
Yeah.
It was also your 21st birthday.
It was.
And I just remember being on this boat. It wasn't like that warm. It was quite chilly, wasn't it? I remember. Yeah. And then we got to this point where they were like, okay, if you want to jump in, feel free. You can jump in. This is the point if you want to jump in off the boat. People were jumping in, and me and you were like, oh, shall we, shan't we? Can't really be bothered. But then we were also like, as we always inevitably do, it's like, well, we're only here once. We're only going to get this opportunity once. Let's just do it. So I jump in. Obviously, you had that kind of knockoff stick from Andreas. You jump in.
Yeah.
And I just remember your head popping up and you being like, oh, just really like, and I was like, what's going on? And then you dove back in and I was like, mate, what's going on? And then obviously you'd lost the GoPro kind of end snapped off and the camera went down. And I just remember thinking, oh no.
Oh, it was honestly so heartbroken. It was just like, on my birthday, lost the GoPro, which I only had for like maybe a month, and then we had all these plans, like we definitely like do all the filming or the editing would be great, and it was the start of that 1 month trip, right? How different things could have gone if I still had it, I don't know. We would have approached more people and like done more interviews, and who knows, been like YouTubers by now.
Yeah.
But I was just that one knockoffs dongle from Andreas was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But alas.
But like, we still went on to that night of that big talk night. It still has gone on to really, for me, and I know for you, like has gone on to not just massively and subtly shifted my relationships with people. Like I regularly bring up, big talk conversations and conversations that I'm having, and it does just allow you to connect in a more deeper way with people. It lets you connect with people in a certain way because they're going deeper within themselves, telling you stuff about themselves, and allows you to really connect with certain people. I remember even at Halong Bay after that happened, those kind of couple of nights that we had in Halong Bay. We were still doing big talk with those were those Swedish girls?
Swedish girls with the Italian guy.
The Italian guy. Or something. Yeah, like there's this other American girl called Crystal that I was doing this big, and we like. It still was a transformative thing having these big talk questions and that kind of being our thing, and it with or without the camera, it still has gone on to shape and transform my relationships with people.
Definitely. It's I think a great asset on any conversation toolkit, especially I think the fact that you can use it almost immediately. You kind of, for those sorts of questions, if you didn't maybe explain the story of how we explain it and the importance of big talk, blah blah blah, you'd have to kind of wait a while before you bring up like this massive question. So people, if you just led with that, people would be like, whoa, let's just relax. But I think the way that we kind of introduced it of small talk, big talk, blah blah blah, and how we kind of brought it out, made like a really easy way to chat to people about these kind of big questions. So having cultivated that, like over our many relationships with people, I think has worked quite well. for sure.
Yeah. And just a few big talk questions as examples. We always ask people, what's one thing you want to do before you die? And that's the one question I ask every guest on this podcast. The follow-on question is always, if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do in that 24 hours? Some of my other favorite questions, who do you most want as a dinner guest? What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? What do you most value in a friendship? What's your greatest achievement? Any others you can think of that you like?
No, those are big ones. Those are good.
Yeah.
Oh, would you want your kids to grow up to be just like you? And if not, what would you change?
Yes.
That's a good one.
That was a good one. I haven't asked that one in a long time. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. That was, it was such a great time. Big talk is just the one.
Transformative. Everyone, go look at the YouTube video. Just type in, and it will just like change your life.
Yeah, definitely. I've written like a very short blog on it, which is on the website, which has like the links to like the Big Talk website, but also the TED Talk, and I'll put the links in this as well.